Today I want to talk about covetousness. What is coveting and why is it a sin? The dictionary defines to covet as a desire to have something. That doesn't sound so bad, right? But did you know that to not covet is actually the 10th commandment? Let's say you're creating a new kingdom or a new country and you only had 10 laws that you can put. Would do not covet be one of those laws? Well, actually, so in Exodus chapter 20 verse 17, we see it written here. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So in sum, do not covet anything that others may have. So now that we know that it's actually part of the 10th commandment, we know that it is important. So let's study what it means to not covet. See, I used to think that covetousness is just the desire to have what others have. But in Colossians 3 verse 5, Paul writes, "Put to death what is earthly in you, immorality, impurity, passions, evil desires, and covetousness, which is idolatry." So why is coveting a form of idolatry? I think it's because the contentment or the satisfaction that we are supposed to get from God, we're not getting it from something else. We're not coveting it or desiring it because it will fill our contentment. This is how Pastor John Piper puts it. Covetousness is desiring something so much that you lose your contentment in God. And the opposite of covetousness is contentment in God. So it is idolatry because you're putting the desire to have something over desire to pursue God. You are placing your happiness and joy in material things and not God. Covetousness is telling God that you are not enough for me. I am not satisfied in you. Let me go find it elsewhere. Let me go outside of what you have given me because you are not enough. Wow. Putting it this way, now I see why it is so dangerous. And in fact, it reminds me of the first commandment, which is very similar. The first commandment tells us not to have other gods. So both of these commandments deal with idolatry, which is putting other gods or other things above God himself. So now that we know what covetousness is and why it is so harmful, how do we fight it? How do we overcome covetousness or the desire to want other things in a way that it reduces our contentment in God? So one way to fight covetousness is faith. I think one reason why we fall in covetousness is because of unbelief. We doubt the goodness of God. We don't believe that what He has for us is better than anything this world can offer. Therefore, we need to hold on to the promise of God through faith. Remind yourself of verses like Hebrews 13 verse 5 and 6 that says, "Keep your life free from the love of money and be content with what you have. For God has said, I will never fail you nor forsake you. Hence we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me?" So remember that covetousness never brings satisfaction. You will only desire more and more. Instead, when those desires arise and your joy or contentment in God is being decreased because of your desire to attain all these other things, remember to come back to God and ask for His living water. In John 6:35 it says, "Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." See, in Christ alone will you ever be truly and eternally satisfied. So not only can you hold on to these promises by faith and believe that God can satisfy you beyond anything this earth can, another thing we can do is we can pursue the treasures that cannot fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. So instead of desiring and storing earthly treasures, desire and seek for what is eternal. Desire for things and to do things that have eternal value that you can bring with you once you leave this earth. And as you store these treasures in heaven, the Bible promises that your heart will be there also.